Hello, I'm Ajahn Jyotipalo. Welcome to Sauntering into Silence. This week I was reading Bhikkhu Bodhi's The Eightfold Path, and he made an interesting comment that I'd never really pieced together. I'm not really a language person, but he brings up the point that the word sila, oftentimes just in a theistic religion, when you talk about morality, it's often kind of thought about as being subservient to an authority or to rules, just following what other people tell you to do. Where he pointed out that the word sila kind of has its root in a concept of harmony, being in concord. So it's more like you do something because it puts you in touch with nature, or that you're not doing things basically to create regret and remorse in yourself. So that leads to just the ability to be able to practice better. That kind of reminded me of a story. We were on the alms round in this particular town that the monastery was near. Alms round, if you don't know, is say in Thailand, where this tradition is from. Every day the monastics take their alms bowl and walk through the town, and the people that want to support the monastery, they make offerings, food offerings. And then the monks come back and they share that with everybody who's living there. So we were on this alms round. We came up and this young man who was, really looked like he was down and out. His clothes were really dirty. He looked like he hadn't cleaned or shaved for quite a long time. He came up to us and asked my teacher if he could help him. And so he asked him, what was the problem. I was really wondering, what's he going to be able to do? Because monasteries are many things, but they're not like homeless shelters. Oftentimes monasteries, when they get well established, they will have like lay groups part of the monastery that can do things like that. And so I know many monasteries that do have like food banks or just a large enough community that they can provide social services for people in need. But really a monastery is not designed for that. So I was like, I wonder what my teacher is going to be able to do. And so the man was explaining that he had just lost his children to the court system and was quite bitter and wanted to know what we could do to help him. And my teacher just looked at him and asked him, can you live a moral life? Can you be practicing sila? And the man actually kind of got angry. And it's like, how can I? It's like, they took my kids away. The senior monk I was with just walked away. At the time, I didn't know what to think of that. But then later, when I was reflecting on it, he gave the man the first step on the path. It's like living a moral lifestyle. And the man rejected him. And so, what's my teacher going to do? Hopefully that man, reflected on that it did have some good. So the story about the homeless man reminded me of another story where oftentimes I've noticed, with monastics, because we don't really have too much that we can give to people, materially. Whenever I'm in a situation where I see a homeless person, I try to always acknowledge them, to make eye contact, to kind of nod to them. And I've seen that oftentimes they just light up when you do that. And so I was telling this to a guest at one of our monasteries, and he said, oh yeah, I have a great story about that. And he was going into a restaurant for, I think it was lunch, and there was a homeless person outside, and he just asked him if they had eaten that day, and they hadn't. So he invited him to have the meal with him. And they went in. It was a place where you ordered at a counter and then sat down and they brought the food to you. So he's comes up to the counter, and the person at the counter rudely said, "This is to go, right?" He was kind of upset about this, and so he just said, "No, we're eating here." They had the meal, and at the end of it, the homeless man said, "Thank you." My friend was like, "Well, it's not a big deal. It's like, $10 for a hamburger. It's not that big of a deal." And the man said, "No, yeah, thank you for the hamburger as well, but thank you for seeing me."